Hello friends, so today we will be doing the discussion on geography questions which came in GS paper 1. So we will be specifically kept our discussion on geography questions in paper 1. So this time if we look at, they were around 100 marks of geography which was asked, and out of it there were 4 questions which were 10 marker, and there were 4 questions which were 15 marker. And if you talk about the difficulty of this exam or this paper with respect to geography, it was, barring few questions, 1 or 2, it was on a difficulty level of, we can say, above average. So there are already so many discussions there out in the market, but we'll try to see what are the nitty-gritties of each question and how to deal with them comprehensively in a very answer writing format. So without wasting any further time, let's start with our question number first. So the first question was, assess the impact of global warming on coral life system with examples. So if you talk about the question, there are few things which kept to be mind while seeing the question. First is assess, and the other thing is global warming, and the third is coral life systems. So assess is our question tag, and the main theme of the question is global warming versus coral life system. So to start with our answer, we can start with the introduction in two ways. For starting any introduction, you can have two methods at your hand. First is what, and second is why. So these are two ways in which you can start your introduction for every question in GS papers. So what is basically the definition pertaining to the main theme of the question, but it is usually been prescribed that if the theme is a bit unique and peculiar, then only you try to give a simple logical statement or definition of the question. Else, if it is a very generic theme, like in our case, global warming and coral life system, which we all know at a basic level, so there is no need to start with what kind of introduction. It's better to start with why. And for why, we always give a context. A context can be in the form of current affairs and any important event pertaining to this main theme. So if we look, or if we try to formulate our introduction for this question, we can write the data of UNESCO. Like according to UNESCO, majority of the coral reefs will cease to exist if we continue to emit greenhouse gases at present rate by the end of this century. So this can be a good way to start, which will provide a good context for the examiner, who can easily make out that yes, you are getting the question from where it is asked and why it is asked. So talking further, if we come to the body of this question, so it is 10 marker. So in body, we can directly link the main theme, which we have already seen, towards the impacts on coral reef. So the main theme is having an important impact on coral bleaching. So the global warming has a very direct impact on the coral life system in the form of coral bleaching, and this can be attributed to different reasons. So if you talk about reason number 1, that is rising thermal stress. So if you want to make points regarding the impact, we can just criticize, or we can just look upon the conditions in which corals thrive. That is a temperature which is in between the range of 20 degrees Celsius, optimum kind of salinity, clean and not much saline water. So these are the basic characteristics or conditions under which coral thrive. So we can look on those characteristics and see how global warming is impacting on those characteristics. So due to global warming, there is high thermal stress, and this is attributed to high deforestation, pollution, industrialization, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it is distorting this ideal scenario of 20 degrees Celsius temperature where corals thrive. So first point is thermal stress. Then second point is impact of El Nino. So it has been found that when there are El Nino years, there is warming of the water oceans or ocean water in the Pacific Ocean. So high warming of ocean water in Pacific Ocean, and so it has a direct correlation that when there are El Nino years, there is larger destruction of coral reefs in the form of coral bleaching. And since we are attempting a paper of geography, so it is always a good practice to include map or a diagram after 2 or 3 points in the first page only. So we can either draw a world map showing the major coral reefs of the world, else we can draw a regional map showing the rate of destruction of coral reefs. So since the question is also asking with examples, so therefore we can try to draw a regional map, and it is always a good practice to box your map or diagram. And if we try to draw a regional map, the best one is to draw a map of Australia, and here lies the Great Barrier Reef, and there lies an island called Howe Island. So it is found that around 50% of coral reefs were destroyed in the last 27 years, and in the southernmost part beyond the Great Barrier Reef, there is an island called Howe Island, where around 80 to 90% of corals are destroyed. So this will be a good map as well as a good example for our question. And continuing further, we have other issues with respect to the impact on coral life systems vis-a-vis global warming. So global warming will do first sea level rise, and sea level rise will increase the sedimentation rates. Also global warming will do increasing glacier melt and rising rainfall patterns, as a result of which there will be more surface runoff from the terrestrial ecosystems, and this will lead to rising siltation or silt composition in the water and leading to water turning more turbid. This turbid water will clog the pores of our coral reefs and they will suffocate, and as a result of which the zooxanthellae algae will come out of that coral polyps and will lead to coral bleaching. See, coral bleaching is when the zooxanthellae, which lives in a symbiotic relationship with coral reefs, comes out from the coral reefs due to the pressures like temperature and different problems of ocean acidification and other stuff. So this is why coral bleaching acts, and this is what coral bleaching actually is. Moving forward, this is our fourth point, that is oceanic acidification. So increase in greenhouse gases, in which CO2 has a major component, will react with water of the oceans, leading to formation of C2O3, a carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid will further degrade the health of corals by increasing the dissolution rates, and again it will lead to coral bleaching. The next point we can have with us is, again, if you see that global warming will change the marine heat budget, which is studied in our GC, Leong and other books. Marine heat budget, this is also in NCERT, marine heat budget, as a result of which it will distort the patterns of oceanic currents, and as a result of which, at the same time, global warming will also lead to what? It will lead to higher storm surges and cyclonic disturbances, and these both will lead to changes in salinity composition. So this all will have a very negative impact on the health of the coral life systems. So these are the possible solutions, possible problems which we can see in case of global warming on the coral life system. And to conclude, again we can give a futuristic conclusion, an optimistic conclusion, if we have something of that sort in our mind. Else we can write a journal advantage of the need to preserve coral life systems. But since we can write, therefore, it is the need of the hour to limit the global temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, which is also in line to our Paris climate deal. So this is what would have been a possible solution for this question. If you would have been able to replicate around 60 to 70% of this kind of question, you will easily fetch around 5.5 to 6 marks out of 10. So this is how it's the best way to start and complete this question. So the second question was, discuss the causes of depletion of mangroves and explain its importance in maintaining coastal ecology. So this was also a very easy theme, and if you talk about writing this answer, again in the introduction we can take two approaches, that is what or why. Since mangroves are again a very generic theme, and therefore what is a very redundant way to start our answer, the better way is to provide a context, that too from our current affairs, and therefore the very famous current affair on this was that Maharashtra Transport Ministry said that there is a threat of or to 54,000 mangrove species due to development of bullet train corridor in the Maharashtra region. So this can be a good way to start our answer. And then moving ahead, it is asking the causes of depletion. Causes of depletion of mangroves. So causes can be further categorized into two subheads, that is, causes can be anthropogenic, that is human induced, and causes can be natural, that is due to natural phenomena occurring. So again, since it's a geography question, so then we can give a map and we can box it like this, showing the major mangrove distribution in the country, and we can mark the destruction zone of this 54,000 affected mangrove species in case of development of bullet train corridor. So talking about anthropogenic causes, we have a very good framework, or you can say a mnemonic to write this, that is HIPCO. So HIPCO is a mnemonic which stands for habitat, destruction. You can use this framework in every question of environment and ecology. Habitat destruction, which includes fragmentation, of habitat. Then we have introduction of alien invasive species. Then we have pollution. Example, oil spills. Then we have overpopulation or population stress. Then we have concrete construction. Example, development of coastal areas. So if you know specifically, there are new notifications for coastal regulation zone 2018, in which there is dilution, of CRZ norms, and especially with respect to CRZ clearances. So the norms have been diluted, and for O it is over exploitation. So these are the possible anthropogenic factors through which mangrove depletion can be seen. Also, there are certain land use changes, but these can be covered again in our CRZ 2018 notification. Land use changes. If you talk about the natural factors depleting the mangroves, they can be variety of types. So natural will be rising sea level, Again, similarly, the way we have discussed the question on coral reefs, there are certain conditions under which mangroves also thrive, and those are an optimum limit of temperature, salinity, and a proper level of sedimentation. So if there is global warming or if there is climate change, there will be rise in sea level, and if there is rise in sea level, there will be more salinity, global warming, more temperature, more tidal intrusions, then this will lead to more soil erosion. So these will be, or you can say due to climate change, there might be more incidence of harmful pathogens. So these are the important anthropogenic as well as natural causes for depletion of mangroves. And again we have given the diagram so as to substantiate and to look and answer more geographical by giving the spatial aspect of the question. Then the question is asking its importance. Part B, importance. Importance with respect to coastal ecology. So you can just write a sentence that it is responsible for maintaining ecosystem services. And if you talk specifically into these, they can be a variety of types, since mangroves have a very dense network of roots, which can be of two types: tilt roots, and again other one is pneumatophores. So these two types of roots prevent the intensity of water influx and thus stabilize the coastal areas and thus do lesser soil erosion. Again, mangroves, as we can see, that they form the base of the food chain into that ecotone area. Ecotone is a transition between two ecosystems. So mangroves form at the junction of when we proceed from terrestrial ecosystem towards marine ecosystem, then there exists an ecotone on which mangroves can be found, and therefore they act as a base for food chain in that area. Again, mangroves are excellent carbon sequesters and a better 4 times carbon sinks than other kind of vegetations present. So these are the important. And also if you talk about the human perspective in geography, so you can add that they are responsible for providing good breeding places, for fisheries, etc., and also for other livelihood needs of the coastal community. So this is how the main body of our answer should look like. And again, in the conclusion, we can give a very generic sentence and optimistic conclusion like mangroves are responsible for maintaining ecosystem services and for establishing a homeostatic balance in the marine ecological system, and therefore there is a very important need or urgent need to maintain or preserve them. So this is how a conclusion should look like. So this is how we can write good answers in geography. So this is how I elaborately discussed question first and second, and the other questions we will discuss regarding the schematic wise, and you can again discuss them in this same framework and can write good answers. So the third question we have with us is, can the strategy of regional resource based manufacturing help in promoting employment in India? So if you look at this question, we have one keyword called can. So it is just asking whether it will or whether it will not. So we need to take both the dimensions into action and we will analyze based upon that. So again, with respect to the introduction, we can write an introduction by giving that the unemployment, rising unemployment rate like decadal highest in India, decadal highest is around 6.1%, plus distressed migration can be seen in India, and this is basically pertaining to the high structural issues in the manufacturing sector. So again we used the format of why to make our introduction, which is very relevant and very straightforward with our current affairs topic. So if we look further, how can regional resource based manufacturing a game changer? So part 1, that is, it will lead to employment opportunities, because if you look at the main theme of the question, it is asking in promoting employment in India. So how it is increasing employment? So if you look at this, so if we procure locally the resources and manufacturing locally, then the village economy will become more circular and will become more resilient, and therefore it will lead to village economy, rural economy, regional economy will become more resilient, and therefore it will lead to less disguised unemployment by creation of more non-farm jobs, because now the resource base, which is our raw material, and its manufacturing, that is an industrial agglomeration, are located in the same place, and therefore the surplus workforce, let's say from agricultural fields, will be shifted towards the industrial sector. Again, if you will see, it will create better forward and backward linkages, that is again from raw material then to industries, and these are traditional, they might be traditional industries, they might be local industries towards market. And therefore it will improve the supply chain and will create more employment due to increase in competitiveness of the industries. So it will increase the competitiveness of the industries. So if we look further, we have, it will decentralize the manufacturing process in the country, and therefore it will lead to less distressed migration to urban areas, and as a result the younger rural youth or regional youth will get opportunities of employment in their own area and region, which for which they have a defined skill set as well, which they don't have in urban areas, the skills which are required in urban areas. And again, fourth, it will improve our intellectual property rights. Example, UP has initiated a scheme for one district, one product. So likewise, it will enhance the manufacturing skill sets and manufacturing base of the industries regionally and locally. So you can also pinpoint various case studies in this. If you want to give one, you can show the district-wise sugar mills in Uttar Pradesh. So these are the mostly sugar grown areas of Uttar Pradesh, and also various sugar industries are located in the same region. So you can draw this kind of map and you can easily show it somewhere in your answer. Again, if you can show another map with respect to rubber map of Tripura. So rubber based industries can be located because there is cultivation of rubber trees in that particular area. Other can be bamboo cultivation. You can write so many things, and therefore it will help us to increase the regional resource base and its efficiency. Also, another example can be mango, jelly, cottage industries in Andhra Pradesh. So these are important examples which you can quote and give your answer. But again, it is asking can the strategy. So there are also constraints in exploiting the regional resource based manufacturing. And so what are the constraints? The constraints can be less skilled workforce. The constraints can be also in the form of failure of cooperatives. The failure can be also in the form of very high unorganized nature of the sector. Nature of the sector. Then we have infrastructural challenges. Infra challenges like road, transport, communication, and also energy issues. Energy issues. Because still we have not energy secured us on a uniform basis, pan-India basis. And therefore, this will be both pros and cons of regional resource-based manufacturing. And again, the conclusion, you can conclude by giving a current scenario with respect to this topic, that is the recent Niti Aayog report. If you can look, this is the report which I have opened for you, and in this report of Niti Aayog, Strategy for New India, in that it has highlighted the government can play a crucial role in creating domestic manufacturing capabilities by leveraging proposed public procurement projects, and then they can be in the form of mega food park scheme, and all those schemes you can write in the conclusion part. So this is how you can make your answer more relevant and as per the demand of the question. So this is question number 6 and our question number 3rd in the discussion. Moving ahead, the 4th question we have with us. So if we look at the next question, It is discuss the factors for localization of agro-based food processing industries of Northwest India. See, these questions are not open-ended. They have been closed. How they are closed? It has been closed by giving another ending to your question, that is Northwest India. It is asking specifically with respect to Northwest India. So if we talk about this question, we can give a journalistic introduction, which was a very recurrent theme in recent months, that is Niti Aayog highlighted the importance of agro based food processing as one of the important sector for doubling farmers income. So this can be a very good and a very generic introduction to our question, which is very relevant to the theme as well. So now the question is asking, what are the factors of localization of agro-based food processing industries? These are factors, and that too in Northwest India. So you can directly start. The factors for localization are, that is nearness to raw material source, availability of source power, physical and climatic conditions, supply of trained labor, availability of capital, momentum of an early start, and nearness to market. So there are various kinds of agro-based food processing industries like cotton, dairy, meat, wheat, rice, sugarcane. So these all can be talked about, and these are the factors responsible. So if we will look, first we need to draw a map of Northwest India. So these are the states which will come in our Northwest region. So we can make a good map and we can box it. Then moving ahead, we can define and we can give more substantiation to our factors like nearness to raw material. So we can see the development of different mega food parks in Punjab, in Rajasthan, in Haryana are due to the availability to nearness to raw materials. So if we look at this ministry website, so if we look at, so there are various food parks which have been developed, and these are developed. One is in Punjab. If you look at the point number 11, International Mega Food Park, Fazilka, Punjab. Then at 12th, it is Green Tech Mega Food Park, Ajmer, Rajasthan. Then it is Patanjali Food and Herbal Park, Haridwar, Uttarakhand. Then again in Uttarakhand. So likewise, there are many food parks which have been developed. Why they have been developed? They have been developed specifically because they have very good linkages with the raw material region. So if you look at agro-based industries, so there you can see that rice is there abundant in Punjab area, wheat is there, jawar, bajra is all is there in Rajasthan areas in the western part, sugarcane is in the western UP area, and there is presence of horticulture like fruits and all in the Uttarakhand and the Jammu Kashmir area, and so they are providing raw materials for these mega food parks, and so this is a very important factor in localization of our agro-based processing industries. So you can connect the raw material regions on map. You can either show on map or you can either write them, and you can show the location of mega food parks which are there in the northwestern part of the country. Then availability of source of power. You know that Punjab, just after the green revolution, Punjab has been provided with increasing electricity subsidies by the government. So there are institutional mechanisms which are already in place in this region. Indira Gandhi Canal is there. Also physical and climatic conditions. If you look at this region is a very diverse, it's a very diverse agro-climatic zone with high agro-climatic suitability, and so its potential can be harnessed easily, and therefore climatic and topographical constraints are also less because it is mostly a flat terrain, barring few states of Uttarakhand and Jammu and Kashmir. It's a flat terrain and also a plain area which is very fertile. So physical and climatic conditions are met, availability of power is met, nearness to raw materials is met. Then supply of trained labor force, it is also developing gradually over time and after the green evolution. Then availability of capitals, there is high availability of capital in terms of high agripreneurship. Farmers are good entrepreneurs in this region because they became rich by the wind of the first green revolution. And then momentum for early start, this was the core area in terms of the green revolution belt. So if you talk about on the map of India, so this area was the core area of green revolution, and therefore they get this momentum of an early start as well, and therefore they are likely to be developed more good and more larger agro based processing industries. And nearness to market, it can be in the sense of local markets recurring to the needs of the local areas, and also Delhi NCR, Delhi and NCR, it's a very good market for it. And also just going by Rajasthan into Gujarat, they have port accessibility also. So nearness to port accessibility is also present. So these all locational factors are responsible for development of agro-processing industries in the northwest part of the country. So this is how you need to start your answer. And again, you can write that it is responsible and it is very much in the favor of the farmers that development of agri-processing industry should be there for the achieving the goal of doubling of farmers' income. So this is how we can complete our question number, this one, which is also a 10 marker. So moving ahead with next question we have. So if we look at the question number 14, which is our fifth question in line of discussion, it asks, what is water stress, how and why it differ regionally in India? So if we see the question, it has following keywords. First one is very generic, what, and so there is no need to be creative in providing the introduction, just write what and what is the definition of water stress. Then the second part of the question is asking about how. How means you need to give the spatial extent, how it is varied in space because it is geography after all, and why, and the reasons associated for such spatial variability in India. So if you talk about water stress, see, water stress is a condition which can be analyzed both quantitatively and qualitatively. So it has both the connotations. Quantitatively, how? If demand of water exceeds the amount available during a certain period, in certain period of time, then there might be a chances that water stress might occur. Also, it can be qualitative as well, which means deterioration in the quality of water itself can also lead to situations of water stress. See, so quantity can be due to more extraction rates, overpopulation and all those stuff, and quality is due to eutrophication, due to industrial effluents which are usually discharged without treatment. So qualitatively and qualitatively both ways water stress is being defined. And so there are some statistics which I have taken from the net for you. So according to data released by World Resources Institution, global research non-profit organization, India is ranked 13th among 17th most water stressed countries of the world. Also, 11 of India's 20 largest face an extreme risk of water stress and 7 are in the high risk category. According to index, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Nasik, Jaipur, Ahmedabad and Indore are among the cities facing extreme risk. So this information you can either produce or reproduce in the form of text, or you can give an associated map. So it is always advisable to give map in geography. So if we look, there is one map which Niti Aayog gave. It talks about the baseline water stress in India, ratio of total withdrawals and total flow, that is input and output. So it has several categories like high, medium, low, extreme, and some are unaccounted in this map. So this you can draw, and this will also answer your this part of the question, how, because you are giving a spatial extent according with the information you have been given to. Now why? For talking about why, we can talk in terms of urban and rural areas. Why means why such variability which we seen in the map of high, medium and low occurred or occurs. See, urban areas are being denoted with high population pressure and high consumption patterns. And so we always find that, let's suppose if this is the carrying capacity of water, carrying capacity of water resources in urban areas, and this is the level of population in the urban areas. So this is a basic graphical representation you can give in your answer while showing. Since now it is a 15 marker, you can easily have that space to draw all these things and to make your answer more visible to the examiner. So this is the gap which is generated with respect to the amount of water and the population intake. So this gap can be called as water stress. So in urban areas, this kind of scenario prevails. Another way you can explain how this is variable in space or regionally varied is north south divide. So we know that the northern parts and the southern part, so northern rivers are perennial. Here the rivers are seasonal. Much of the area is under rain shadow effect of the Western Ghats. Here we have presence of glaciers. And optimum or near to optimum amount of rainfall can be seen. So this is how also variability can be seen between North and South India. Also with respect to quality, third way we can see how regionally it has been varied with respect to quality of water. So with respect to quality of water, we see that there is high ground water exploitation in certain states of the country. These are basically the green revolution regions or areas which are core, and therefore people have larger density of tube wells with electricity which is totally subsidized, and therefore more extraction is there and more digging of the tube wells is there, and therefore we seen more kind of uranium and arsenic content in these regions. This can be seen as so this is India has no standards for uranium levels in groundwater, and you can see the areas plotted in red on the map are the areas of northwestern India, which are the belt of our first green revolution, and also the coastal areas, which is also where the green revolution has been proliferated in the first phase of green revolution, and therefore these are the places where there is high contamination of groundwater, mainly in terms of heavy metals, can be seen. So such kind of water stresses, both in quantitative and quality terms, can be seen spatially, and these are the prominent reasons for the same. So this is how you can attempt this question. It is a 15 marker. You can be more logical, you can give more diagrams and maps to substantiate what you are writing in it. So moving ahead, we have the sixth question with us, and that is question 6 and the question 15 in the paper. How can mountain ecosystems be restored from a negative impact of development initiatives and tourism? So last year they have asked what are the challenges with the mountain ecosystem, but this time they have asked how to restore that negative challenges. So since it's a 15 marker and there are not much points you can create in the examination hall to provide for the restoration of the negative aspects of the mountain areas, what you can do is you can start your answer by giving a journal introduction and then the issues which are prevalent in such kind of mountain ecosystems. So you can write your introduction on lines that mountain systems represent a fragile kind of ecosystem and has certain environmental concerns as. Now you can give the various issues which are prevalent in the mountain areas. So you can write the issues in the first part of your answer so that those issues can be addressed in the ways to restore the negative impact in the mountain ecosystem. But at the same time you need to give a map on which there are various mountain ecosystems can be shown. So you can box a separate area, a separate space in your answer booklet, can draw the map of India and can show all the mountain ecosystems on this map on this side, and then you will move on to the issues. So if you talk about the issues first we can write with respect to hazards. See, mountain ecosystems are fragile ecosystem in the sense that they are recurrently prone to first landslides. This can be natural and this can be human induced due to humans constructional activities and changing the tectonic stability of the ecosystem. Then there can be influx of forest fires, then there can be heat waves. These all can be due to both human and as well as natural causes. Example, increase in vehicular pollution, more global warming is increasing the incidence of heat waves in these mountain topographies, which earlier was not the case. And so this is with respect to the hazards. Now with respect to scarcity of resources. Scarcity of resources, we have a very famous example in the past 2 years, that is Shimla water crisis. So the mountain areas are like this, and so they have high runoff of the water or river streams and low infiltration, and as a result of which they are recurrently and on regular basis prone to the issue of scarcity of water. Then other issues which can be seen are the issues of shifting cultivation is practiced in some mountain areas. Then deforestation. So you can mention these things. Certain tribes in northeast still practice shifting cultivation in those mountain topographies. So the first part will be relating to the issues which are there in the mountain ecosystems. Now the second part, and which will cover most of the part of our answer, that is around 65%, that is the ways to restore it. Ways to restore it. So now Niti Aayog has come up with a report, and that report was sustainable development of the Himalayan states. In that report, it has given various ways in which sustainable development can be ensured in such topographies and such ecosystems. So it has given like spring revival program, skill and entrepreneurship development, curbing the approach of shifting cultivation and towards more permanent type of cultivation can be practiced like horticulture. And then also it has proposed to start integrated watershed management in such kind of areas. So you can write the recommendations of Niti Aayog in your answer, which is the second part of your answer, and you can give them relevant diagrams so as to make it look more geographical in nature. So if we talk about first, that is integrated watershed program. So integrated watershed program consists of integrated approach with respect to land, soil, water, biomass, food. So all these things are being dealt on an integrated basis. Second, revival of springs. Third, permanent type of cultivation. Then we have vulnerability, mapping of the areas under high, low and medium, so that tailor-made solutions and tailor-made strategies can be developed for hill area development program. Fifth is strict EIA, environment impact assessment and execution. Then searching for alternate livelihood measures. Then we can have what we say controlled tourism and tourism pertaining to more traditional nature like rural tourism, like homestay tourism, cultural tourism. Such kind of varieties of tourism should be promoted so as to have least impact on the biodiversity and ecosystem of that area. And finally, we can have a concept of green tax so that high revenue can be acquired by the local authorities, which can then be used for the development of those region in a very sustainable manner. So you can write these issues on the first part, which will comprise your 35 to 40% of your answer, and then the major part, which is 60 to 65%, to the ways in which it can be restored. And in the conclusion, again you can give a very futuristic possibility, like the Himalayan states are demanding what we call as green bonus for the conservation activities undertaken. And so these demands should be met at the earliest so as to ensure that these ecosystem will be safe for the future generations. You can conclude on these lines. So this was question number 6, and now moving ahead we have question number So the next question is question 16, and it is question 7 in our discussion. So question 16 is, how is efficient and affordable urban mass transport key to rapid economic development of India? So it is also a 15 marker. Again, to start this question, we can have an intro with respect to why. Why means a context in which it is used in the recent times. So government supported 2.78 lakh electric hybrid vehicles under phase 1 of FAM India scheme. So this can be a good introduction which is more related to current affairs and more logical. Now moving ahead, we have, so in the first part or in the introduction part, to continue forward, we can define what is efficient. We can define what is efficient and affordable transportation actually means. So by efficient, it means smart transportation, and by affordable, it means which cater to the needs of masses, is rapid, is inclusive, and by efficient, it means smart, that is AI based, less polluting, and that is using Internet of Things and so forth, whatever you can write under this thing, actionable analytics and all sort of things. And so how, after completing of this part, we can now dwell into role in rapid economic development. So how it will play an important role? First, development of, it will lead to development of industrial clusters, industrial clusters and agglomerations, because now due to good transportation activities, industrially it will help in formation of industrial clusters and agglomeration, and that will help us to reap the economies of scale. So this is our first point. You can give a case study of any of the industrial complexes which has been generated due to efficient means of transportation in that region. Now second point is, it will lead to higher agricultural productivity due to good backward and forward linkages. So this is the second point. The third point which we will do is, so these are broad points, you can give or substantiate these points with examples or diagrams or whatever may be the case. So third point is, increases labor market links. See, labor is having less bargaining power and less purchasing power, and is usually situated on the outskirts of the city, and therefore every day it travels to the different parts of the city and to the core area of the city at times. Like a labor is working in Connaught Place and it is traveling all together from a fringe of Delhi. So if there are efficient ways of transportation, then it means that a labor can easily take metro or maybe other kind of bus services and can reach in a very less remunerative way towards the area of his or her job. Then fourth, it will reduce rural urban divide, since now people can have more mobility, as a result of which there will be more linkages and more urban ideas which will come to rural areas. So this is what happen, as a result of which it will indicate or it will improve several indicators, like it will improve indicators like health due to faster transportation of the patients and other health services, then increase education indicators and literary levels, and therefore it will lead to formation of good human and social capital. Also, the fast transport will be less polluting, and if efficient then it will be more less polluting. So it will transform individual consumption pattern towards more community based consumption. So you can substantiate this using case study of air pollution in Delhi, how the car density has been increased in the region, and vis-a-vis the recent hike in metro fares. You can show this carrying capacity of air in Delhi, and this is the population increase, and this population increase can be more after metro prices hike. So you can show like this, and this degradation of this carrying capacity of Delhi. So you can write this answer in such way, and you can conclude properly by writing the challenges in implementation of such efficient and affordable mass transportation, like infrastructural needs, transition to e-vehicles, transitionary losses, and all kind of stuff you can write. So this is question number 7th in our discussion. Now moving on to the last question we have. So this is the last question. So how do ocean currents and water masses differ in their impact on marine life and coastal environment? Give suitable examples. So it is specifically asking give suitable examples. So if you look at, there is one theme called ocean currents, there is another theme called water masses, and how they differ in their impacts. Impact we need to show, this is a linkage on first marine life differently, and then on coastal environment differently. So these are the main headings, and also we need to substantiate them with help of examples. So there is no need to give a current affair related introduction in this kind of question. You just directly write what, because it's a large question and it requires much space and time also. So you can write what are ocean currents. So ocean currents are what? These are continuous and directed movement of water. Okay? And these are formed, you can just write specifically, these are formed as a result of prevailing winds, then Coriolis force, then coastline configuration, and then last is hydraulic gradient. You just need to write this in 2 lines in a very logical manner. So this is ocean currents, and now talk about its impact here only in the first part of our question, which we are dealing with ocean currents. So impact on marine life. First we are discussing with respect to marine life. So it specifically can be seen in the form of upwelling and downwelling. See, upwelling will do what? It will bring the nutrient rich water from beneath towards the surface, which can be in the form of planktons, and these planktons, which forms the base of marine food chain, can lead to higher biological productivity. So this is the impact on marine life. Downwelling, what will do? It will down transport the various oxygen rich water, and thus it will helpful for benthic life forms. So this can be specifically seen in the form of this way. Another, if we see, is the mixing of cold and warm currents. So this mixing of cold and warm currents will lead to what? It will lead to formation of fishing grounds, and again areas of high biological productivity. So we have numerous examples like mixing of currents in Newfoundland region. So also in impacts on coastal areas, we can see as coastal areas impact can be seen in the form of cold current and in the form of warm current. So in the form of cold current, we have, it will lead to increasing desiccating effect. Desiccating effect because it will reduce the amount of moisture in the air, as a result of which higher aridity can be seen and leads to formation of deserts in the long run. You can substantiate with examples with each point we are discussing. Warm currents will lead to what? They have more carrying capacity for the moisture, as a result of which they will lead to more moderating effect on over the coastal, moderating impact over coastal environment. So this is how the ocean currents wala part needs to be dealt with in the first part. Now talking about water masses. So water masses are, these are large water columns. These are large water columns having uniform what? They have uniform salinity, temperature, and other thing is density. So these three qualities are something which defines a water mass in a ocean. So this is what is water mass. You can also draw the diagrams, respective diagrams for ocean currents. You can draw such kind of diagrams, or you can give small regional diagrams when you are discussing some points and you need to give examples. You can give regional diagrams, and for water mass you can give this kind of diagram in your answer. So moving ahead, with after giving the maps and the diagrams, we have impact. So its impact can be seen, its impact on coral reef, and that is what we can see especially to the mesophotic corals, which are deep sea corals which lie on a very specific depth of the oceans. Okay, with respect to benthic life, stability for benthic realm, and also in the long run the water masses helps in heat balance of earth, and therefore it maintains the temperature of the oceans. At the same time, they are responsible for heat exchange of the water bodies, and therefore they are responsible for glaciers present, glacier stability over or present at both the poles. And ocean currents also impact coral reefs formation, which we have discussed already in the coral reef question, the first question which we discussed today. So this is how you can write a good answer in this format, and this is the last question which we have discussed. So the paper was not that tough if you are clear with your basics. More or less the things have been asked on basic lines, but you can give more current context to them so as to ensure that you are getting good marks in your answers. So this was the discussion regarding it. If you want any other discussion on geography related topics, you can comment below and let us know. Thank you so much.